welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming here today. I am Felicia Lin, in case you don't know. I'm the host of the Talking Taiwan podcast, and this is my partner, Collage.
I spoke to all of you individually, probably, for at least 30 seconds.
Yeah, this is really a special night for us today because we haven't been back to Taiwan since the beginning of the pandemic. And a lot of our guests are here today, and we haven't met a lot of our guests in person since we do our podcast remotely. And so we made a point to come back here. We had a lot of support from our donors and supporters, some of them that are here today that we want to thank. And so we were funded to come back for this. And so we wanted to have this event to thank our friends, supporters, and guests. So there's lots of food and drink here, all thanks to our donors. Hope that all of you can, meet each other, get to know each other. And we're gonna, in a little bit, invite people if they want to come up and say something and let us know what they've been up to since the last time we talked. Maybe do like a, quick 10 minutes or something like that.
I see some of you know each other already, and everyone knows Jerome, so it doesn't. But it's great to see that people know each other and people have collaborated, different circles. But we're really happy to be here, and we're really especially happy to meet our guests. As I said to someone, I feel like I'm meeting movie stars, after you communicate with some people for a while and then you meet them for the first time. It's like quite a special experience. Yeah,
really, really gratifying. And actually, we're going to be here until February 6th, so if any of you want to, meet us outside this, because it's so hard. I really want to spend time to talk to everybody here, but I don't know if I'm really going to have, real conversations with people today. But if you want, please look us up, let us know, let's grab a coffee on some other date. We're going to be here for a little over a week, so there's still some time. Great.
All right, let's get rolling.
Yeah. Okay.
Anybody would like to volunteer to come up for the first sound bite? So please introduce yourself. And
to the camera.
Oh no,
yes.
We're gonna sit here.
I'll sit here.
Sit here.
Well, that's a different story.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, Felicia.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. And my name is Jenny Luo, and I'm currently a program producer at Tom Plus, an English-speaking channel.
Okay, wonderful. So, what should I see when I'm here? Because we could always use some suggestions of what we should see in town or anything off the beaten path that you would recommend that we must see or do.
There's a lot to do in Taiwan, Taipei, and then all the cities, and you get to experience things that probably is different from a lot of things, cities in New York, such as New York or San Francisco. But I would suggest you to come here to sample all the delicious foods and meet people who will take you out for more food. So you get to know the city from its people and its food, and then explore the city's destinations randomly. That's how I like to spend my travel.
And so what's it like working for Chang? What exactly do you do there?
I am developing programs. Currently, I'm producing and hosting my own show, which has not been aired yet. It's called Anything Goes with JL.
Oh,
It's a fun, lighthearted 3-minute show that showcases interesting things, people, or experiences here in Taiwan.
Okay. Any particular things? Is it related to food? Is it related to culture, literature, art? Do you have any particular topics of interest that are your areas of interest?
Or in my show?
Yeah, for your show.
The show literally has a name called Anything Goes. So we are opening up to all the suggestions. Anything that you can think of in Taiwan that you think is fun, and I will go there and experience for you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. This is a very surprise interview. I thought I'll just be standing there.
Oh, no.
And then now I'll be sitting down, having the speaker,
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Eric, you want to come?
Sure.
I know I can pick on Eric.
Old friends, huh?
Eric, okay. Eric, how long have I known you? I mean, like, it's been like decades. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, yeah. And we had a lot of fun episodes, right? We talked about the sunflower movement because I was actually here in 2014 with the sunflower movement.
I forgot I gave that name. When you posted that, I totally
It is
forgot.
posted. It's posted.
Long
Yeah.
time ago.
It's really funny because you can hear like how nervous energy when we're talking and
Yes.
stuff. And then we did an episode with you about the ADIZ.
Yeah.
Incursion. So what kind of things are you writing about these days?
I'm actually doing more, so I work for Taiwan News. I'm actually doing more editing these days.
Yeah.
Doing more editing. I did actually I wrote a few op-eds for the election. Yeah, I wrote a few op-eds for the election.
Okay.
And that was actually kind of nerve-wracking before the election.
Yeah.
Because at the time, the day before the election, DPP's internal polling had showed that Kouenza had caught up and that he was second and that they were only going to win by like 300,000. You know, I mean, that was what internal polls were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty. I didn't really want to watch the vote counting because it's always really nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I got called into the office.
Oh, you're forced to watch. You're
Yeah,
paid
I
to
had to
watch.
watch the entire thing.
You're being paid. So.
Yeah, I had to watch the entire thing, and then
Yeah,
afterwards
yeah.
had to write an op-ed on it. But yeah, I mean, the outcome, you know, I can finally relax now.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
looks like everything's headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
could have been a little bit better legislature, but you know,
You're right.
you know,
right.
a win's a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that you like to go hiking into the outdoors. Like, anything you would recommend that we try that's a little off the beaten path?
I mean, the greatest thing about Taiwan is, you know, if you drive 2 hours, anywhere you are in Taiwan, if you drive an hour and a half,
Yeah.
just inland, you know, you can be in the mountains, you can be, I mean, Taiwan has thousands of waterfalls, you know,
Yeah.
all over the place. And, you know, there's a lot of Facebook groups, there's a lot of people that have like posted on it now, you know,
Okay.
and so, yeah, we've met a ton of people like, because I'm usually based in Tainan.
Okay.
So, you know, we go to like Pingdong, Kaohsiung a lot,
Yeah.
like sometimes Jiayi, and then I love getting out to the East Coast. East Coast is
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
East Coast is beautiful, but yeah, it's sometimes you don't always have much time.
Yeah.
But like Taitung has definitely grown into. It's become one of my favorite places to go
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Taiwan,
yeah.
just because there's nobody there.
Yeah.
There's like fewer people, and yeah. But I definitely would like to spend more time in the Northeast. Like,
Yeah.
Ilan's really beautiful. I've only been there a couple times.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna have to talk to you offline for some recommendations and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, we'll keep it moving. Thanks,
Yeah,
Eric.
okay.
We'll talk to you more later. Thank you
Okay.
so much for coming. Cool. Okay. Thank you, Eric. Yes. Okay. Okay, Jane, you ready? Awesome. Okay. Oh, yeah. So, I don't even know how long it's been since the last episode, right? So.
Yeah, I looked it up just now. I think it's 2021.
Wow. Okay.
Seems like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you still doing the coaching thing, or what are you doing these days? Okay.
Yeah, so my work is still roughly similar. I mean, it's coaching, consulting, facilitation, training.
Yeah. Cool. So.
But a lot has changed.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot has changed.
Okay.
Sort of more internally.
Okay.
And yeah, so I can share
Sure.
more about that.
Please.
Okay.
Please.
I think the biggest difference, well, I think one is that since we last talked, I started to go on a deeper inner journey. And really, I stopped marketing. I just stopped all the activity that I was very used to in my life, like a very fast-paced life. And I really slowed down a lot, and I started to connect with plants and trees, and then that led me to permaculture, which I don't know if some of you have heard of, and then degrowth, which I'm working on now. So I think it's the linking of the personal journey. I used to think, I used to work with people, and I thought climate stuff was for science people. And I think for me, it's starting to realize like how everything is connected truly. I think I knew that theoretically, but I think I'm starting to see that a lot of our mental and physical crises in our lives, the stress in our lives, they come from a similar place, like the system that we're currently in, the capitalistic system, you know, and that also ecologically is being just, you know, is the same engine behind the ecological destruction. So that's kind of what I'm interested in these days, in, is kind of sharing and highlighting that connection, so we can all see, oh yeah, a lot of our individual problems that things that we might blame ourselves or each other for actually have this larger systemic context.
Right, and we've become so detached from the land or nature and things like that, because there's all these different constructs and things that we think are the things that give us value. Right?
Yes, exactly. And so actually, it's Eric, was it, that spoke about Yilan and Taidong Hualien. I've started to explore, like went to this aspiring eco village in Hualien, and near the border of Taidong last year for the first time. Yeah, stayed for a week and had the best vegetables I have ever had in my life. Just from the family, the couple that, you know, and we were cooking a lot of those vegetables, and I actually turned mostly vegetarian just from that. Like, it wasn't, like, no moralistic argument could have turned me a vegetarian, but just like trying actually really amazing vegetables did, and learning some of those recipes, and seeing how easy it is. And then lately, like tomorrow actually, I'm going to visit with this village in Yilan called Sengo Village. Some of you might have heard of. It got a lot of media attention because it's through the years, because it's kind of like a channel through which people who aspire to do farming in Taiwan have a chance to do, like, anybody who wants to kind of like leave the system, leave their 9 to 5.
So people can have like a plot and like grow their own food there.
And they have like they have like a way to kind of like a real estate, like they have a way to introduce you in, and they've already solved a lot of the problems. So you can kind of do your own passions. I'm actually going to ask them if I have to farm rice, but maybe I can farm my own vegetables or whatnot. But yeah, I'll just learn more tomorrow.
Oh, that's great.
So I was trying to live in that way as well. Because because of live my beliefs as well.
Right. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, cool.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thank you for coming by. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Karen, did you want to come up? Actually, before I even became the host, there were some episodes, and Karen was in that. We brought you back, and Karen's a language teacher, and you have some really great tips to talk, to share about how is the best way to learn language, right?
Yes, that came from my experience just living here and also teaching here. And at Taiwan University, we basically get the cream of the cream. We get the very best students who are very motivated and work very hard. But their listening and their speaking was just not very good in English.
Right.
And they kind of were aware of it themselves, and they would blame themselves. Oh, I'm not very good at listening. I'm not very good at this or that. And it's because you haven't been trained. So for a place that aspires to have English as another official language, they are missing a very, very important piece. And that is, if you want to learn a language, you have to hear it. And if you don't have sound coming in, it's just not going to happen. You're just going to make up your own pronunciations. And I ask my students, do you think a foreigner learning Chinese that way would work? I show you a picture of the tones, the lines and everything. Are they going to get it that way? And they laugh. They go, no, of course not. I go, if it doesn't work for Chinese, how in the world could it work for English? And they go, oh, yeah. And ever since Mark Zuckerberg gave his speech in Chinese and they had to suffer through it for a whole minute, they realized that if you don't speak well, people are going to really suffer. And so, in general, since that time, they've been very motivated, and it's kind of our goal in the startup I'm working on with the former TA to make people aware that you need listening and to help them provide with ways to listen and ways to train your ears so you're actually listening. Another thing is I realized it's not just an English problem. Chinese people actually don't listen to Chinese very well either, which is kind of funny.
Okay.
But one reason is because they read so well and they read so fast.
Okay.
If you can read fast, there's no reason to bother listening. And so a lot of people, if they watch TV or movies, they read through the whole thing.
Oh, right, the subtitles, sure.
That's right. And then one person said, when I'm chatting with friends, I sometimes just wish there were subtitles there because I can't catch everything. They're so unused to listening.
Wow.
So that's kind of one thing we're working on in the startup now. We have our first product is going to be an app called Earbug.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's to train the listening.
That's right. So for example, we'll have a minimal set. So like bit, bid, beat, bead. We can hear they're all very different, but for Taiwanese, they might be bit, 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 bit.
Right.
But once you present them to their ear and they can compare them, they say, oh, they're really quite different. And we've gamified it. So I say beat. You click on the correct one, move on to the next one. Then you can move up to a different level. Maybe it's ooh and like look and Luke. And so that's how we kind of want to address this problem.
Okay. So do you have any idea when this app's going to launch? Maybe we should have you on when you're ready to talk about it more.
Hopefully in 2024.
Okay.
Yes.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Such a pleasure to meet you in person.
Great to meet you in person. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, Elias. All right.
Radio on the stage. What a cool thing.
Yeah, Elias, my goodness. You were like one of the episodes like before Kaju even came on as the sound engineer, and then we were talking earlier like how you actually had an early career in radio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back when I was a teenager.
That's crazy. Can you share a little bit about that? Because other people don't know.
So Sweden has a really interesting system where nearly every city has a FM radio station owned by the government, and non-profits can rent airtime on those. So when I was 14 years old, I saw a sign in my junior high school saying they were looking for students who wanted to get involved in a radio show. And I did that for 6 years until I was leaving Sweden, and then I went to the US and studied radio TV.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we were talking about how you think that's like really shaped you. Like,
because how many 14, 15-year-olds get to take a broadcasting license, right? Because you need to have a license to be on an FM station,
right.
And get to have a press pass so you can show that you're a journalist. And then we had to do budgeting and we had to plan it all out.
Wow.
And I think that whole project management and working together as a team, I think has really helped me as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and so let's talk a little bit about that. So for people that don't know, Elias is involved with something called the Dragon's Chamber, which in the U.S. the equivalent is like the Shark Tank. If anyone's ever seen that TV show, and it's been going on for like, I thought 20 years, but you said it was like 18.
It's 8. Just did 8.
Oh, 8.
8.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been a lifelong entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I came to Taiwan in year 2000. I started a company in my 3rd month in Taiwan, and I've started many since. It's hard to start a company always.
Yes.
But doing it in a country where you might not speak the language and you might not have all your friends and family is double, triple, quadruple hard.
Right.
So Dragon's Chamber is something we started 8 years ago, and it's specifically to help immigrant entrepreneurs in Taiwan. Because if we compare Taiwan with countries like the US, UK, Canada, and so on, the rate of entrepreneurship among the foreign residents here is very low.
Okay.
And I think this is, not just not good for the immigrants that have a hard time starting something, but I think it's not good for Taiwan either. If we can get more creative people coming here and starting companies that maybe then can connect out with the world again, I think Taiwan would win.
So, what are some of the success stories that have come out of the Dragon's Chamber?
So Dragon's Chamber caters to very early stage companies, and we have a lot of companies. So every year we have 5 finalists that get to go up on a big stage during the Meet Taipei. And out of the 40 finalists, half of them are still in business, which is already
That's amazing.
a nice check mark.
Yes.
But for example, we have an English language school that was part of our program, I think 5 years ago, and they are growing like crazy. So between 2022 and 2023, they grew 50%.
Wow.
And have students and parents that are waitlisted to get in there. We have companies like Paca, for example, that makes a electric motorcycle for the U.S. market, which is really cool. We have a lot of fantastic people from all over the world that, for whatever reason, have come to Taiwan and decided to start their company here.
Okay, great. And so, what's your latest venture?
My latest venture, what I'm spending most of my time on these days, is Kigo.
Yes.
So Kigo is we make e-bikes for delivery couriers. So if you're thinking Uber Eats, Food Panda, Foodora, there's about 30 million couriers in the world, and most of them are still driving around on a fossil fuel scooter. So our mission is to help them to switch to e-bikes instead, which is going to save like 98% of the CO2 emissions. That's what most of my time today is being spent on.
Oh, great. Exciting. Well, thanks so much for coming today and sharing all
thank
of
you
it.
very
I look
much,
forward
and
to
thank you
talking
for
to you more.
inviting me up.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Who else? Brian, yes. Hi, Brian. Nice to meet you finally.
It was great talking to you all those months ago. And
wonderful.
I can't remember when that was, but
it was
great.
Hey, Brian. So good to meet you. I believe you're a podcaster now, right?
I am, yeah.
So tell us about your podcast and how that's going.
Well, if you remember when we had our discussion on your podcast, I was just thinking about it.
Right.
And I was kind of like still trying to investigate, and it's a lot to do, right?
Yeah,
it's a lot to take the plunge. Right. Sure. So I finally took the plunge, and it's about English idioms, phrases, slangs, and things like that.
Yes.
And actually, I've been recently delving into British and Australian slangs as well, or idioms. Which is kind of fun because I get to use some funny voices there.
Oh, really?
Accents.
Really? You do accents?
It's a little bit goofy, but yeah.
Oh, cool. How many episodes are you up to now?
Well, I just released the 38th on Tuesday. So it's been 38 weeks since I started it, so May of last year.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. So,
Thank you. Thank you very much for the vote of confidence. I'll send you a link.
Yes. Yeah. So what else is new?
Well, that's the most interesting thing, I guess. Everything else is kind of similar.
Yeah.
I'm doing pretty much the same that I was doing when I talked to you last time, which was working part-time at English language publisher, learning. And you had Karen on here earlier. Right. And Karen I see sometimes Karen in the office because she does some recording for the Ivy, Analytical English and whatnot. So I work there part-time, and I do some writing. And then I also, 1 day a week, I'm at ICRT radio station. And so I read the news on Saturdays. And I do some business English teaching as well.
Okay, great.
And some voice work sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing.
Sure,
so, and what's the name of your podcast?
Oh, yeah. Okay, here's the plug.
Give the plug. Let everybody know.
For sure. It's called If the Phrase Fits.
If the Phrase Fits.
Right.
Okay. So anyone who's into language.
Available on Spotify, Apple, and wherever you get your podcasts, as they say. Thank you, Felicia.
Great.
Thank you very much.
So nice to finally meet you.
Nice to see you.
Oh, Richard, do you want to come up? Richard, it's so nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me here.
I was so surprised. You were like one of the first people to RSVP for this event, and so enthusiastic. I love that.
Well, that's a good thing about being a freelancer. So
yeah.
I don't have the 9-to-5 job, and I think it's also very good that when I learned that we we're going to be doing this doing this program here, right next to the dome, I was very happy about it because it's, coming from the baseball background and being able to work with the dome for the past few years and finally see the dome there, although it's not completely complete yet.
Okay.
Yeah, there are still a lot of little mice in there as a construction site, but it's good that we start to have some games in there. And right now I'm working on the Japanese team is coming this March, the Yomiuri Giants. They're celebrating their 90th anniversary. So they are kicking off their celebration event in Taiwan first.
Oh,
so they're going to play 2 games there.
Okay.
On the March 2nd and 3rd. So that's probably the most important thing I'm working on right now. But last year I went to a lot of places for the baseball games. I even went to China for the Asian games.
Okay.
Had a fight with the communist.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What happened? Do you want to talk about that or no?
It's okay. He wasn't a professional, so I was mad about him. I was helping the baseball part for the sports presentation. Everything went well. So although the Taiwan team didn't get the gold, we lost to Korea. So the Baseball Federation of Asia, who's also the Chinese Taipei Baseball Association's president, Jeffrey Koo, he was very upset about it because he had to, as a head of the Baseball Federation of Asia, he had to present the gold medals to the Korean team. Oh. So he was not happy about that. That's part of the games. So from 2020 to now, I'm glad to see that from this year, the local baseball league will have 6 teams. It's going to be the first time since 2009.
Oh, really?
So it's been a while since we only had 4 teams and then 5 teams, and now we will have 6 teams.
Oh, okay.
It'll be good, and there'll be maybe 20 games over there in the dome.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more expensive to play the game there.
Oh yeah.
For the clubs, but it's going to bring more money in there. For the clubs. So they're trying to put some games in there, and I'm pretty sure that with a very good facility there, it's going to help baseball in Taiwan to develop. In the future, we're going to have at the end of this year, we're going to have the Premier 12.
Okay.
Japan, Korea will come here. And maybe next year, or maybe the year afterwards, we have the WBC here as well. So we do need a dome, especially in the summer times. It rains a lot.
There's more temperature control, and
it's very comfortable in there. It's really nice in there. Just being a fan, watching the game. All the fans love it. So I believe that's going to help baseball to develop.
Oh, okay, great. Good. Anything else that you want to talk about?
Well, just that if anybody has just drop by and come
support the dome.
Support the dome. It shouldn't be that expensive. We're not going to charge everybody like how they charge in the States for the Major League price.
Right.
And we're trying to bring some high-profile games into the dome, and let's see.
Okay.
Great. Come to the dome. Great.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Okay. Yes. I wanted to thank the co-founders of PicCollage for hosting us today. I don't know if John or Jaime are here, but they very kindly offered us the space when they heard that we were coming back to Taiwan so that we could have this event today.
Sorry, I'm still eating.
Sorry.
That's okay. Step into the light.
So welcome to our space. We just moved into this office. We completed this office in August of last year. So we're a PicCollage company. So what we do is we have an app. Well, in general, we build software for creative AI. This is what we're working on now. And PicCollage is an app that lets you make collages, cards, social media posts, and we launched it over 10 years ago. It's done pretty well in terms of getting a lot of downloads, and more recently we figured out how to get people to start paying a little bit for the app, so we have some subscribers and a business model there, and then we're using that to build other apps. So we've, I think Jaime was demoing some apps, so we built like an app that does style transfer with in Snapjoy, and like another app that lets you put your face into any meme, and sort of playing around with all these great new things that are possible with generative AI. So anyway, that's what we're doing. Thank you for coming to our office today, and if you want, later on, to take you for a tour of the office. Thank you.
Yay. All right.
Oh, Jerome? You want to say? All right, yes, come, Jerome. Okay.
Good to see you, Felicia.
Yes, good to see you. Jerome Keating, one of our most popular episodes about the history of Taiwan. Your episode continues to be one of the most popular for our podcast.
Well, that's nice to hear. I always like to hear that.
Yeah. So, what should we talk about today? Because we talked a little bit about the election last week, but...
Right, yeah, we talked about the election, and yeah, I'm trying to think on kind of the question of where Taiwan is heading. It's always like, in a way, it always surprises me. Everyone, wants to put pressure on the Taiwan president. Don't rock the boat, don't do this, No one ever says, really, China is the aggressor continuously. China is the one that is always acting out of line. And no one says, you don't really have a case. I won't swear this time like I did last time, but, I always amazed at how people say, don't do this to Taiwan, or don't do this, play it safe in the middle. No one ever talks to China and says, look, you're the one that has the problem. You have no real case, and no one, of course, reads the history. San Francisco Peace Treaty, China's not there. China is not the Qing dynasty. The Qing dynasty were Manchus. Japan was the first one to really control the whole island. So there's a lot that people don't know outside Taiwan, and many people in Taiwan don't know. So.
Right, yeah, if we look at some historical dates and things too, right? When was the ROC founded? When was the Communist Party founded? All those kinds of things. Yeah. But,
I having lived here so long and continuously listen to parachute journalists come here or outsiders come in and say, well, you really should do this or you really should do that. And I say, why don't you go to China and tell them what they should really do? Anyway.
Yeah.
But it's good to have you guys here reporting on Taiwan, talking to a lot of good inside people, see what's going on at ground level.
Yeah.
Anyway, I talked last time, so I'll just say hello. And
yes.
I brought this friend Nancy Baldwin.
Yes.
If you have time, she has a very interesting book that I got involved in, and I think she'd probably be a good one for your people to know as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that could probably be a separate episode for sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
I have to look into her. More about her book. Yeah.
Okay, well, Jiao Taiwan, everyone,
yes,
right?
Yes. Okay.
There's something, isn't it?
Yes, thank you for coming, Nancy. Nancy is a very interesting story. You just finished writing a book, right, about your life story?
Right. Well, thank you very much for providing me with this opportunity. But the only reason why I want to show you this is that Jerome, of course, is my mentor, and he kind of helped me finish up the book.
Yes.
And so the title is 1,000 Layers of Water and Clouds, but actually is about the tale of a Taiwanese daughter. So what it is I started with my story,
yes.
But actually it's not my story. It's a story of young girls who was given away, or who was sold in this case for me when I was 5 years old. But what's unique about this is that I was sold to a sex worker, if you want. I call it a substitute wife who serviced the American GI during the 1950s.
Like a bar girl.
More than just a bar girl.
Of course.
Right. But I called it bar girl. Yes. So it's about the struggle of a young girl where you don't really fit into the Taiwanese society, neither do you fit into the American society, so because you're not supposed to be known. So a young girl struggle with that. But on the other hand, you're talking about the bar girl, how that was when she was 18 years old and start working in a bar servicing American GIs in order to make the money. So the whole book is pretty much about that. And then, of course, is an immigrant story where I went to the United States. That was one of the very, very lucky one that I was able to go to the United States rather than being sold to the brothel, right? So it's about that. And the whole thing is about understanding, healing, about forgiving. And I think that's important. But most important is I want these books to be inspirational to young girls who had dreams but don't know how to get there. And so I want to be able to help the girls to sort of learn how to be who they are and become who they are. And more importantly is to tell the story of the women like my mother, who was a bar girl, who had no voice. So this book is kind of become like a mouthpiece for those women who has no voice.
That's wonderful. So, I mean, I can't even imagine what it takes to write a book like this. Like, what was it that motivated you to feel that you needed to tell this story?
Well, it took me almost 12 years, right? And it's always about wanting to know why, right? I mean, when you're a child, when you have no stability, right? It's because I was passed on from one person to the other. So somehow, when you are traumatized in such a way, eventually you're going to have to deal with it.
Right.
So most of people don't deal with it, and I think that's why it's so important for me to be inspirational to people. Is like I was saying to one of the lady back there is like 5 years old, you're going to decide you want to die or you want to live, right? You can throw yourself in a well and die, or you want to live. So if you're going to live, how are you going to live it? And so that's how you create an environment for yourself. So it's courage. And not to be afraid and take risks.
Where did that courage come from?
That courage is, I'll show you, man.
Okay.
It's about that. It's like the self-worthiness, about, well, why is this happened to me? Of course I'm somebody. Of course I'm worthy of something, so I'm going to show you,
but,
right?
Like, you had that seed of that feeling, or did somebody, say that you are worth something, or was that just some feeling that you had inside that I deserve this, or
It's a journey, it's really a journey that you go through. I think when I had my children, when my son was 5 years old, so it's one of those things, right? 5 years old. And that's when you kind of start thinking about, whoa, I'm a mom, I'm a mother, and this is how I relate to my children, or what happened to me, So that's where you kind of start dealing with it. And I think it was doing my when my son was 5 years old and when my daughter was 2, that I started to kind of come through it. But anyway, in the book, he has a lot of different things that talked about the journey. In the U.S., it wasn't a really good, smooth passage either, And I was supposed to be studying MBA,
You said that you couldn't even speak English. You were telling me earlier you couldn't even speak English when you went to use. That's really hard to believe.
Right. I did not. I mean, in Taiwan, when you are in 中学, right, you learn the fundamental of the ABC and the grammar, right? And then you read a little bit. But the conversational English is almost
none. So you heard Karen knows it too well.
Exactly.
She talked about,
And even today, that's what I'm saying is, it's sort of, I'm excited to be back in Taiwan because I just feel like I have a place here to be able to help young girls or young people, period, who are so afraid to make a mistake when they speak, right? And they're afraid. They know exactly what to say. They know how to read English. They know how to speak it, but they are afraid because they don't want to make a mistake, right? So what I'm trying to tell these young people who I engage with quite a lot nowadays is don't be afraid. Take a risk. So what's the worst case? People laugh at you, so what?
Yeah.
Right? And so it's that kind of attitude, I think, the fighting attitude, I guess you call it.
Yes, the fighting spirit. Yeah, thank you. I definitely want to have you on because I have to like look through your book and we'll have like a more full episode because there's so much rich content that we could talk about. Like just, I think trauma has become like a very big topic in general public because we usually think of trauma as being something that's very like catastrophic or disastrous, but it doesn't have to be. I think it could even be just something that was unresolved that you carried throughout you that you didn't know how to deal with. That can be a form of trauma.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the reason why I abandoned my MBA program and went into clinical social work. And I actually was a therapist for about almost 7.5 years and just tried to understand that whole thing about the trauma, right?
Generational trauma,
right. Mm-hmm. So I think that, when I was working in Napa State Hospital, for about 2.5 years to do my my graduate work, and that's when you really open your eyes about the whole mental health system is just not working in the U.S. And I think in Taiwan is like we're beginning to change, but I think it's taboo, right?
Yes.
I mean, as you all know, that mental health in Taiwan is taboo. You don't talk about it, right? Just the way it is. Go on. What are you thinking about? But I know it's a big problem. And we're going to have to talk about it.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
We'll definitely have you.
Okay, so if you would like, I'll present this book to you.
Much.
Yes,
thank
sure.
You very much. Can you take a picture of this?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Can we take a picture? Nancy, let's take a picture. Thank you.
Sign it, if you like.
Yes, please do.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. Okay. Elias, we had an interesting conversation. You want to come up and share some things that we were talking about? I'd like to get this on the record. It's kind of interesting. Okay. Yeah, we were talking about, since we were talking about language, actually it's a very interesting theme here, right? Because we have Karen, who's the teacher, right? She does language. And then we had Brian, who has his podcast about idioms. And then we were talking about language and like certain terminology and like connotations. And in Taiwan, we have this tendency to use this word foreigner, right? And like, what's your beef with that?
So I've been here for 24 years, and I feel like the word foreigner, which could apply to somebody who has never been to Taiwan, and to apply that to somebody like myself, I feel like that is contributing to the division of the local Taiwanese people and those of us, the foreign residents and so on, that has made this country our home. So my event, Dragon's Chamber, we used to call it an event for foreign entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And for the last 2 years, I changed this to an event for immigrant entrepreneurs. And so I think this is an important point that maybe could make lawmakers or banks and so on to have to sit up and listen and think about, well, this person has lived here for a long time, maybe we shouldn't
other them. It's the othering.
It's an assumption of otherness, right?
Yes.
Because any immigrant, any foreigner who walks into a bank here knows that no matter how good their Chinese is, when they walk into a bank, there's going to be people there who, they run for the hills. Holy shit, here comes this foreigner.
No, I can't speak to them.
I can't speak English. And even if you speak Chinese to them, they're like, I don't understand what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. And then it was kind of funny. The other term was the jiayo, because that's so common, right?
So I'm invested now in 2 companies that have to do with electric vehicles, and a lot of companies now. Of course, we were trying to increase the amount of renewable energy. So I just had this epiphany a couple of years ago. It's like, well, we say jiayo all the time. You always oil. Oil is bad for us and killing our planet. So we should change that to jiadian, right? and it was so funny. It's a couple of years ago when I put the slide at the Dragon's Chamber. I put it up there, and it said 假店. And the person who was managing the slides at this event, he's like, 那个外国人知道他有写错了吗? And I was like, thank you for noticing. Yeah. No, I did not write it wrong. It was really on purpose that I did that. And then I had a chance to
make a point.
Yeah, make a point. So, it's kind of my a little bit of my language crusade is to try to get as many people as possible. Stop saying 加油 and then change it to 假店.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Gus. Gus is here. Gus, I have to point out Gus in the back. Gus is actually the original producer of Talking Taiwan. So a lot of people think that Kaj and I are like the founders were, but actually Talking Taiwan wouldn't be around if it wasn't for Gus back there. So Gus was the original producer, and he sent me a message on LinkedIn and said, I'm looking for a female voice talent for this podcast. And I'm like, podcast? Oh, I think I know what that is. Not quite sure. That was like 2012 or something. And I was thinking, I don't think I know anyone to recommend to him, but I sure do care about Taiwan, and why don't I volunteer myself? So I volunteered myself to be the host. And so Gus and I worked on it for several years, and then a couple years passed, and in 2018 he said he was going to step back, and he's like, feel free to go with it, and the rest is history. And then Kaji came on, and we're still here, almost 10 years older. But thank you very much, Gus, for all of your friendship and support through the years and giving me this opportunity to do Talking Taiwan. Yeah. Thank you. So, Dylan.
Hi there.
Jerome invited you here today, right?
He did. We've been good friends for a long time. I was so glad that he introduced me to all of you. Yeah. I've lived here not quite as long as he has, but I first came to Taiwan in 1998.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Wow.
So I've actually lived in Taiwan for nearly half my life. I was 25 years old.
What brought you here in the beginning?
To teach English. Most of my time was teaching up in Danshui, which is a beautiful town, if people don't know, on the north coast, teaching university there. And I was there for, most of my time in Taiwan I spent up in Danshui. And then just recently I have moved I'm teaching in a Canadian school in China, in Dongbei, what they used to call in history books they would call Manchuria.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm living in Shenyang, which is way up in that region.
Okay. And how long have you been there?
Now just about 5 months. I just started at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
How's that been?
I like it up there. It's always interesting to live in a new place. And of course, I'm constantly comparing it to Taiwan because I lived in Taiwan for so long. It's very cold up there. I'm from Canada, so I know something about the cold.
What part of Canada are you
Nova Scotia. So the East Coast. You grew up in Ottawa.
Yes, so my aunt and uncle who are from Vancouver are here.
Right. Oh, I was talking to your uncle. If you're from Ottawa, you would know something about the cold.
Yes.
So in Shenyang, in the last 2 months or so, it's been minus double digits every day. If it goes up to 0 degrees, people are quite happy.
So how is it like? What's the difference between living in China and Taiwan? Like anything like you want to highlight or?
The first thing I always look at is the food situation.
Oh,
and
yes.
Food up there is quite good. It's quite spicy.
Oh, yeah.
People are big beer drinkers up there. They have a lot of lamb skewers, a lot of lamb and beef barbecue. And so your sort of typical restaurant where I live, which is kind of in the outskirts of the city of Shenyang, would be kind of beer and barbecue. But you're not going to get the shellfish. You're not going to get the oysters and the shrimp that we get here. But the food is pretty good, I think. And people up there seem to enjoy going out even in that very cold weather.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things that surprised me is sort of the coldest weeks just before Christmas. the hot pot restaurants were full and the bars were full. So I'm impressed, I'm impressed with many things up there. I miss the seafood in Taiwan. I miss many things about Taiwan, but it's been an interesting experience for sure.
So you think you're going to be spending more time there? Or?
Well, sort of a funny thing, I was working until January the 12th. I came immediately to Taiwan. I missed it so much.
What do you miss about Taiwan?
Many things. I miss my friends here. One thing I'll say is because Taiwan is such a compact country, you could always go on these lovely day trips. I was just in Dashi in Taoyuan last week, and you could always get out of the city of Taipei, or if you're in Kaohsiung, same thing, Taichung, same thing, and you can be in the mountains or on the coast almost instantly. So I can see that where I'm living in Shenyang, you can certainly go places, but everything's much more spread out. You will not be taking, I don't think, as many kind of weekend day trips. You'll have to wait until you have real time off. So Taiwan is still the world's most convenient country, I would say. Sure. Some sort of funny things. I like to think I speak Chinese, but up there, the accents are different. If I'm at the 7-Eleven, they don't have 7-Eleven, but they have something called Lawson, which I think comes from Japan. If I wanted to say yao get daitse, I want a bag, they would say yao get dar. There's quite a curling R to their accent. So at the beginning, and right now I'm trying to communicate with local people, and it's just taking a little bit longer because the accent and probably dialect, I guess, makes a big difference.
A lot of colloquialisms are a little bit different.
And a lot of colloquialisms that I probably haven't learned yet. So I'm enjoying it. It's an adventure. I certainly like to tell local people that I lived in Taiwan before.
Well, what's their reaction when you tell them that?
Usually the first thing they say is "Wow, and Piaoliang the Difang," and they're sort of really impressed to hear about it. The flip side of that is some people, I find my Western friends, don't really want to talk about the political situation. I might get comments like, so you're going back to the island. The island, they don't necessarily want to utter the word Taiwan. So that's, which is kind of hard for me because so much of my background is in Taiwan. But I have to see it from those foreigners' perspective who have lived there for a long time, and they're probably thinking in terms of the controversy. I find local people I haven't had any trouble with that.
That's interesting.
So I like it, but I will certainly come back to Taiwan any chance I get. I think in the next couple of years I will move back here because every time I leave, Taiwan calls me back.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing that. Nice to meet you.
Well, thank you very much.
I hope you enjoy the
Okay, thank you, Felicia.